Hey, Suzanne. So, what's up?
How are you?
I am fine. I'm fine. Getting through the end of a week where this has been a very interesting week, both for me personally and professionally. But hey, we are alive to see the end of a week. So, I'm giving thanks for that.
Yes, exactly. So this is number two, right?
Yes, this is episode number two, and it's been a big week in the news. We'll cover it, especially in the Black news. We'll cover it both the good and the bad. So I want to start today. You start today off because I find the big story this week was female related. The good one and the bad one. So we can start with those.
Well, let's start with the good.
Good,
So,
good. And I'm wearing yellow because we're trying to bring the sunshine in for to end the week and go into the weekend.
well, that was the Obama's color of hope was yellow.
Yes, yes,
And Amanda Gorman wore yellow during the presidential inauguration speech.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm coordinating.
yeah. I didn't get the memo. But so Kimberly Godwin, a veteran CBS News executive, was named the vice president of ABC News, making her the first Black woman to lead a major broadcast news network division, which is a big deal because there's a lot of coverage about how male-dominated the newsrooms are and the sexual harassment claims we've seen over the past decade happening in newsrooms. So hopefully with a woman at the helm, it'll be a new way of doing business at ABC.
Well, I do believe, and that is fantastic. I do believe that what would be significant to understand would be the performance once she is in place, and how the audiences really take to ABC, because that is ultimately how we judge things based on results. But I would be fascinated to understand if there is a significant amount of uptick once she changes around things and she's able to put her own stamp of approval on the programming that she brings. I do believe that it would be very interesting. And when I think about how this goes, and then we look all around the world and look at the countries that did best in the pandemic, they were mostly women led. So I do think that there is something about women leadership that we tend to you know not really pay attention to sometimes. But I think the pandemic shone a very bright light in terms of women leadership. And for me, being a girl dad, woohoo to me, I do believe that women do have the ability to do things, and it will be interesting to see how she performs.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think women should rule the world, but don't quote me on that.
You already do, to some extent. You all produce kids, you all, and talking about producing kids, I guess we can go into, Black maternal health. But I think that's where the root of life stems from, motherhood. So you all do rule the world, and you all have way more influence upon the world than you all realize. Just sometimes, you all don't have the name and the title behind it.
Preaching to the choir. So, Black maternal health, this is not a new news story. It's an ongoing news story. It was actually made most popular, I guess, the popular press most when Serena Williams had her baby
Right.
and had horrible complications and felt that she was mistreated. So the Black maternal health news is that the US has the highest maternal mortality rate in any developed country, mostly due to what's happening with Black mothers in the hospitals. Black women in the US are 2.5 more times likely to die from pregnancy-related issues than white women. And babies are more likely to die as well, little Black babies. Newborns, the rate of deaths is double for Black infants as compared to white infants, and that is presented by the CDC. I don't know if you saw it, the Aussie media presentation If you didn't see it live, it's also on YouTube. The one about the racial disparity crisis in healthcare.
Oh, I did not see it, but funnily enough, this morning I was reading an article which I will try to post later today about the health systems, and I think that it goes back to the medical students and the impact of how medical students are treated. And the question is why, especially Black medical students. So I do believe that there are some related articles coming out of that, but I would have to find that and look at it.
Okay, well, our friends at Ozzy Media, so Carlos Watson and
Yeah,
Crystal Rose, they put together a video, a combination of individual stories and a newsreel, and it's called "The Racial Disparity Crisis in Healthcare," and it's riveting.
mm,
It really makes you wonder about when you go through those hospital doors whether you're going to come out. And I only say that because of the case of Dr. Susan Moore. She was a
yeah,
physician that was hospitalized for COVID and
yes,
felt that her care was determined by her race,
yeah,
and she ended up dying.
yeah,
And she actually recorded it, I think, on Facebook Live, even maybe,
yeah,
and put it out there that her treatment was substandard, and as a physician, she knew. They even denied her pain meds
yeah.
during her horrible end of days. So there is a lot to unpack here, but there's a lot to unpack anywhere for us in America.
And what kind of, for me, when I look at it, the question I really ask is: there are third world countries, or what we consider third world countries, that have lower mortality rate for infants. You don't have the amount of deaths, and it's shocking, the way how we classify things. So to me, it really, when you start, unpacking it and breaking it down, you do realize that some of these issues are just built into the system. Because clearly, if you have countries that are poorer than you, that have way less resources than you have, why are there so many deaths in 2021? That's where we are in its history, to Black mothers and children. It's painful. And then we have the whole cycle in the community of these children growing up without mothers. Um, so when we do the whole packing of the scenario, I think it's, we must do a better job. And I think that part of what we do is kind of shine a spotlight on it, and bring attention, and eventually hold people accountable.
Well, what about the statistic I gave you earlier, the 1 in 1,000?
Yeah. Oh boy, that is so you and I go back and forth sometimes in terms of the things that we don't even like to speak about. And I know for you, as a Black mother and a Black woman, those things really kind of unnerves. And I keep saying, whether or not I'm Daniel Smith, a man with a MBA or whatever my qualifications are, once I get stopped by the police, all of that is out the window. And therefore, I could become just another statistic. Um, and I do believe that, yeah, there's this song by The Game, is Take My Life, I think it is. And he was, talking about, why did God have him here, considering that all his other friends were gone. And I think that for a lot of Black men, sometimes when you get stopped by the cops, it's like, okay, am I going to make it out of this alive? Um, and when you sent me that statistic, and even so I guess we're referring specifically to number one, the statistics, but number two, the Daunte Wright case, and looking at how that unfolded. And then, you know, I looked at that case, and I'm like, the response that was put out about the taser, etc., which to me, those reasonings weren't even good enough. And there were people I've gone through some Facebook posts with people saying, if he had just complied, if he didn't try to run, etc., etc. And I do believe that, underlying some of these things, there are some merit, but ultimately, did it need to come to that? And this is, I think that in our first episode, at the end, we were talking about, just self-respect and respecting each other. And you realize sometimes that the police need to remember that the civilians and taxpayers, the people who pay, you should respect them. And I do think that, I think it's a simplistic way of looking at it, but you as a parent, I as a parent, we look at it, I'm as a Black man, we look at it and we say, could I be next? Could that just be me, but for the grace of, God sometimes? It's riveting to really think about. And I do think that, there has to be something that is more comprehensive that is done as a nation around it, because these excuses, not sure if you saw the one with the army guy who was pushing the guy and out. I'm like, okay, what is up with that? It's just, and I do believe that there's a certain amount of entitlement that goes with people who believe that, they clearly believe that they're better. So, well, I'm just going to take advantage of this, and this situation.
The statistic I was referring to, just because people may not have seen the article,
Yeah,
it came out in 2019, so it's been around a little bit.
yeah.
Um, I'll just quote it. Police violence is a leading cause of death for young men in the United States. Over the life course, about 1 in every 1,000 Black men can expect to be killed by the police.
Hmm. Hmm.
1 in 1,000.
And that's 1 in 1,000 too much sometimes, especially without, good reason. These are how many unarmed Black men, and that is the case. So many of them are unarmed. It's not like, and even in the case where they, I think Philando Castile, in his case, he told them, I do have a weapon, a gun, it's licensed, etc. So, even in those cases, it's like, are we really paying attention to this? It's tiring. That's why I wore yellow, because that news is horrible. And you sent it to me, and I'm like, geez, boy, and I remember reading it way back in 2009, and I saw it, and I'm like, but as you shone a spotlight on it, I guess, it's something that we have to deal with. And then referring back to, similar is the CNN article talking about what Black drivers are doing. So you see, Black drivers have, we have to take the offensive now in terms of making sure that we protect ourselves. So there is a CNN article talking about Black drivers who are basically setting up systems so that, if they get pulled over by the cops, they either, they start recording one time and stuff like that. And, it's in the cloud for posterity, because, you know, ultimately, you never can tell what would happen at a traffic stop. Yeah.
And I know we talk a lot about AI and technology and how it's biased. I know we do, because I know we've put out a lot of posts about that. But in this case, technology might be helping us, right? So we have the ability to have our own dash cams to be recording a traffic stop. We have social media feeds showing injustices that maybe we cannot stop as an individual, as a bystander, but at least goes into the record in terms of the court cases.
Oh, of course. And if we look at George Floyd, I mean, what in that instance really is, and we'll have to wait to see the outcome, but ultimately the world saw exactly for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, somebody kneel on a Black man's neck because he passed a fake $20 bill. Yeah. Did it need to come to that?
Well, did anyone need to be pulled over because of an air freshener?
Well, yeah. And so, it is, the numbers are crazy. So Suzanne, what's next? How do we ensure that, we try to put out a message of hope, considering that some of these things can sound so gloomy at times?
I thought you had all the answers.
I wish we did. I wish we did. No, I think that ultimately, we have to look out for each other. I think that is where it comes. And I mean, and this may be just as, within our own communities as, individuals of color and others, but also, starting with just respecting each other as human beings. And then, ensuring that, we see each other in the best light possible, because everybody is not out to kill us or rob us or harm us. in case that is the narrative that is being perpetrated. And, if we, I guess as a community, it starts with us, looking out for each other, because there are some numbers and statistics. And the funny thing about it, it's not even in only the crime sphere, or even the killing of people. When we start looking at the corporate sphere, the fact that our main story, and the one that you shared with Kimberly, is what we're looking at, is ultimately it shows that there's a disparity across the board. So I do think that it gives us the opportunity, and what we want to do here at News in 15 is really look at creating that opportunity, putting that news out there of what we need to be following, and hopefully we can help things get a little better. So yes, Suzanne, we can wrap it up now.
Yes.
On our next episode, though, Suzanne, you and I will be discussing, what is News in 15? Who is Dr. Susan Swees? Who's Daniel Smith? We'll, kind of give the audience, those who don't follow us on LinkedIn and may want to know who are these two people talking about, these issues in the Black community. They can we give them a little insight into who we are, and, why we started doing this and why we're doing News in 15, because I do think it is important, and we had a lot of feedback, and we have people wanting to be guests on News in 15. So it's going to be great. I think that, we're starting to cause a little buzz, and those who are really focused on the inequities that we face are looking at what we're doing and really trying to, put some perspective on it. But I do think that the conversation that we have started is important. And, that's exactly why, we are here. And you with your statistical mind, and me with my analytical questioning, we can, try to help people, put some very good perspective on it.
Okay. Well, until next time.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.